Hi, Chris here, and welcome to my review here of the Bomaker. This is the Odine 4, they call it. It's a soundbar, 100 watts maximum. It has 4 speakers in them. So the main speakers that handle the mids and the lows, 2 tweeters either side. Bluetooth support, it supports HDMI ARC, so you can use it with your main remote for, say, your TV. And a rather compact size, as you can see. So in this video, I will be going over the design, the inputs, a little of my experience using it and what it sounds like to me, and then the pros and cons at the end. This review unit here was sent out to me from Bomaker in exchange for this review you're watching. So inside the box, we've got our remote, power supply, RCA to 3.5mm audio cable, an optical audio cable, some screws if you wanted to wall mount this, and a user manual. The remote's very basic and it doesn't need to be anything special here. So we've got power on, mute, this is our different sources, volume up and down, you can select next tracks if you are using, for example, Bluetooth or the USB connection with this. And then we have these 4 equalizers here that they've already got preset: dynamic, hi-fi, 3D, news, game, movie, music. You can control the bass right here, and you can turn off the front LED. It does require 2 AAA batteries, which aren't included in the box, unfortunately. On top of the soundbar, we have these 4 buttons, so power on, Bluetooth, volume up and down. Now these are rubber, they have a clicky sound to them, and they don't feel too bad. And the inputs here, so we have the auxiliary 3.5mm, USB 2, so make sure you format the pen drives to the FAT format. ARC HDMI support, this allows us then to control the speaker just using, say, your TV remote, and the optical, and then our power in. So I have the soundbar just in front of my LG. This is a 48-inch TV, and it's not that high, so the stand on this one is very, very short, and I'm just able to look over the top of these speakers here. So the soundbar, at least it's not very tall, so it's ideal for smaller kind of TVs. Well, they do say 37 inches and above. So the outside of it here, this is all made out of this glossy plastic, and we have this mesh in the front that is all made out of metal. And if I just flip it over here, you can see the mounting points there if you were to wall mount this, and there are some solid rubber feet on the bottom of it, so it's very sturdy when it is sitting here on the table, and it doesn't rattle. So far in the time I've been testing it out, there has been no rattling coming from it at all. Just powered on now, so you can see the LED here. And this is my source, so tapping that button here, which is the power to, that does change over the source there. So that's the HDMI ARC, auxiliary, Bluetooth, and you'll hear it go into the pairing mode, which I haven't done just yet, but I'll test that soon. So right there with the optical, which I'm going to use for my LG TV, it's going through that. And then you've got all the controls with the remote here to go through those different equalizer modes that it has. So the music mode, dynamic, news, if you tap it twice, goes to news, or to game, dynamic. But what is not working with the remote here for me is 3D. It seems to do nothing. And to turn the LED off, pressing that button, nothing happens there. So first up, I'll test out what it sounds like with audio. Now, so far, the speakers have been much better, as expected, than my LG TV. This is where these soundbars are good, because the TV speakers are normally quite poor. They're a lot smaller. They won't have the 100-watt output that this can do, the peak output that is, and these, of course, have more speakers, the 4 mids and the sub, and then those tweeters. So I'll just hit play on this video, and I'll give you a very short sample of what voice sounds like through it. This is just one of my own videos. For copyright reasons, I'm going to use my own content here. This is Samsung's new mid-range phone, the A52 5G model I have here. Now my unit has 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage. So that doesn't sound too bad. That's definitely, again, better than the TV speakers. Now that is with the music preset I have, which tends to give a little bit more bass. If you put it onto the news mode, it tweaks it there. It ups the highs and the mids just to make voice sound a little clearer. Now it is better than my TV speakers for sure. These LG speakers that are in this TV, well, they're TV speakers. They're not amazing. They're not really that good at all. They lack in bass, so this certainly has a lot more bass. Now, it doesn't have the bass levels, of course, like a 2.1 setup with your separate subwoofer, which will be so much better, but it's not bad. It puts out a bit of bass, the mids sound good, and you can clearly hear the treble coming through from those tweeters. So here's a sample of it at a medium volume level. Okay, actually turn that down a little. That's almost maximum volume, and it starts to distort there. So the little speakers in there, they're only 2.5 inches, and they just cannot handle that kind of volume distortion in there, and it starts to sound awful. So I wouldn't push it over about the 26 mark with the volume, which is still very loud. But if you're someone who loves listening and blasting out your music tracks right at the top end volume, distortion is definitely there and will take place. Connecting the speaker up now to Bluetooth. I wanted to see if it is going to be in time with me talking here, because often with Bluetooth, we have issues with latency. So let's test that out now. Mi 11 or the Mi 11i. This video is a comparison of both of these phones here, though. Which one should you actually get? Because here in Europe, there's not much of a price difference. So that wasn't too bad. It seemed to be maybe just a fraction of a second out there with my voice, the timing of it to the image. So there is a little tiny bit of a delay there. I'm noticing it. Now this is with a AX201. That's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth combo card that is in my PC. All right, so that is the Bomaker, the Odine 4, and it is a step up definitely from a TV's speakers, built-in ones, and I'm pretty certain that most TVs wouldn't have good built-in speakers. The only ones that I can remember that did have okay kind of speakers were a long, long time ago, the Mitsubishi ones that had subwoofers on the rear of them, and they would actually cause problems because the vibrations from the subwoofer would end up affecting the components in the TV. But anyway, this is not going to do it. It's separate. It's so much louder. It has more bass than a TV. The mids, even if you're listening to music and vocals and things, or the news, you've got those different options there. So a couple of things. The LED light off button didn't work on the remote. So that doesn't actually matter because it automatically turns off by itself. It's just that 3D mode, the surround sound, or tempting to simulate surround sound, that is. Of course, you're never going to get it with a 2.0 setup like this. It doesn't work, okay? And I think it's just because this model does not support it. So Bluetooth, a minor fraction delay that I could see coming through when testing it out. It's going to depend on the tech you use. So if you use an iPhone, there could be even more delay. If you use an Android, it could even be less there. And the inputs, they're fine. I would use the optical if you can with your TV, if it does support it. And if you're going to be gaming and doing something like that, use the digital in or use the analog to make sure you've got no delays there. If you use Bluetooth, you're going to get probably a little bit of delay then too that you will notice. So what about the cons of this? So, as I pointed out, when you turn up the volume really, really loud, so over 27, it starts to distort and sounds absolutely terrible. Then the speakers are just vibrating away. They can't handle it. It's too much power for the little 2.5-inch speakers. It has 4 of them. So one there, one there, one there, one there, and then the tweeters. So the highs sound good. Mids are okay. I wouldn't say they're amazing. And then the bass is good for what it is. It's not going to be a super deep explosions from your movies. You really do need a 2.1 setup for that. You need a separate sub to give you that really deep, powerful bass. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the Odine 4 from Bomaker.